Peace, peace. Checking everything. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Wanted to go live real quick. I said I was gonna go live yesterday. Didn't get to it, but I'm getting to it right now. Um, I did want to speak on a couple things. I was trying to figure out whether I should just structure it to where I can just get my talking points, or if I just wanted to have a conversation. But I think I'm gonna just have a conversation um, on these topics. I did want to cover first. I posted something on social media a few days ago. It says, you become what you believe. There are no victims." I'm gonna let that sit with you for a minute. Because that's very, very true. Once you break every scenario, situation, circumstance down, that axiom or that principle, if you will, rings true every single time. But you say, well, Trav, there are victims because a lot of things are just simply out of our control. But what happens up until things get out of our control? What were the controllables in the situation? And we oftentimes we just we push off the situation to the uncontrollables and just chuck it up as, oh, I couldn't, that wasn't my fault, or I couldn't control that situation, or it is what it is. But what series of events, what actions led up to the it is what it is? There's always a cause to every single effect. And at some point down in the line, we could have uh, put our hands on the wheel and steered the vehicle another way, right? So I did want to touch on that. And so I have been talking a lot lately on what we focus on is what we put the most energy to. And the things that we put the most energy to, or put the most energy in, rather, is the things that ultimately materialize. And so, in the spirit of you become what you believe, look at our belief systems, right? It can be in anything in life. You become what you believe. So, the first thing that most people think about when we mention beliefs is religion. In religion, we are so quick to say that we believe something, not know it, but we believe it. Then, when we believe something, that leaves a lot of margin for doubt. You know, it's not to say that you automatically doubt as you believe, but hey, the proof is in the pudding. We see it all the time, and it happens. And when people, they ultimately project the things that they believe, and sometimes it doesn't automatically reflect what they would like to believe. I'm going to say that again. A lot of people project what they want to believe, but it always doesn't reflect what they want to believe. I'm in my bag tonight. So what that means is that you get somebody who profess something that they think that they believe, but their actions, their ideas, their energy, and their emotion tell you otherwise. And then a different scenario materializes itself. We can always tell the results of our actions by the circumstance that materializes in front of us. Because a lot of us act on sheer emotion. That's most of us. We have a hard time controlling the impulse of emotion, and then we react or act on based off that emotion that we feel, and we experience a lapse in judgment, or we hinder our intuitive faculties when we are operating out of emotion. When I'm not going to say emotions, when things like anxiety, so emotions kind of trigger anxieties for a lot of us, right? Emotions can kind of trigger different things within our lives and within our bodies and things of that nature. And when we get into scenarios where we experience some type of anxiety, that's just electricity surging throughout the body. So if you don't have the faculty to zoom out of your thoughts and say, wait a minute, why am I feeling this way right now? Let's stop and pause for a minute. What's going on? Okay, I feel this way because X, Y, and Z. And if X, Y, and Z is the basis of my feelings, how can I take that and steer it in the right direction so I can make the most out of this situation right here, right now? And that takes a lot of effort. That takes a lot of discipline. That takes a lot of willpower. And when we are displaying a lot of this effort, there's a lot of this willpower and discipline. A lot of times it's when we've practiced it before. We've seen it before, we've practiced it before. We are in spaces where this is highly encouraged and held accountable to a certain extent. And when um, we don't have these things, it doesn't happen, which is a lot of us, a good majority of us who don't know how to keep ourselves accountable to maintain our emotions. And I'm not saying to not maintain our emotions, but control our emotions. And when I say control our emotions, I don't mean ignore them, right? I don't mean push them off to the side. I mean really take time to be familiar with how your emotions rise in response to external stimuli. So when you're able to identify every emotion that it's in response to external stimuli, you're able to maneuver a little bit better. Your judgment gets very, very efficient, and your decision making skills skyrocket when you do that. So let's reel it back into you become what you believe. So when our beliefs are automatic and we're not intentional, because everything I explained up until this point was pure intention. When we're operating in intention as much as possible, our belief systems become knowing systems. And we don't have to believe. We know. When we're operating in stillness, we know. We're able to be still in the moment and recognize our environment and recognize how we respond to our environment. We start to know things. And I'm not talking about becoming a know-it-all. This, when I say know, it's pure awareness. A lot of us talk about who are tapped in. Really, we talk about being in a 0 point field. It's a real thing. The 0 point field, which is stillness. And when we are in stillness, we are able to think. The clairvoyance becomes right there in front of us. And then when that inner knowing shows itself, the art of becoming it becomes beautiful. The the building of self and just becoming, the state of being, the sequence of being, it compounds on itself. And a lot of times when we are in that frequency, our progress becomes astronomical, and then we look up and we're thankful. We're thankful for the hard times where we felt like we might have been a victim. The hard times where at one point we thought that life wasn't fair. We become thankful for those times where we felt very lonely, even if we were living with somebody at that point, or even if we might have had somebody that we can talk to, but we just felt like they don't really understand like that. And I'm the only person that really understands what I'm going through. I really am the only person that's really feeling it. You become thankful for those times. And then you realize there are really no victims. There are no victims. There are only lessons to be picked out of each and every situation. I see this video that floats throughout social media here and there of Lauryn Hill, and she talks about when you go through a lot of situations in life and you taste a degree of success, right? You taste a degree of success, and you learn things to get there, and it's peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. You go up and down, up and down. And what she said was, study mastership, study mastership. So in those high points where we feel like we reach success, that's something that we had to learn that showed its mastership. But when we get when we go back down the hill, that's when we're supposed to study. We don't supposed to, I'm not going to say we're not supposed to, because, everybody has their own journey, right? I'm not judging anybody, and I don't want anybody to feel bad for what they might be going through. It's enough out here to feel bad for, but that doesn't mean that you should sit and bask in the sorrows of life. It's a study moment for you. So when you go through these times, you should be studying. Okay, if I'm going through this situation right now, what do I have to learn? Let me take a step back. What about myself am I gonna learn about this situation? So if I ever encounter something like this again, I know what angle to take at it. And then when I take that angle, I see a certain degree of success. That's the mastership that's being exposed in that area of your life. So when you look at it from there, you see there are no victims. It's only a journey to mastership at that point. And so when you're able to zoom out on that level, everything becomes clear. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm going through this right now. Um, I don't know, maybe you are finding it hard to save money. What is that teaching me? Maybe I spend a little bit too much money on a regular basis. Or maybe I just need to take a closer look of my finances. Maybe I have a leak in my finances somewhere. Maybe I have a subscription that I'm not using that I could let go of. It could be anything. You see this, and then once you patch that up, you see your savings start to grow. Or your job isn't paying you enough and you need a side hustle. And then you find a side hustle and you start learning the tricks of that trade, and that starts paying you more than your normal 9 to 5 does. But all of this clarity comes when you zoom out and you look at life from a self-mastery standpoint. I know a lot of us are deep folks in here. Um, and sorry to the people who practice particular religions and follow a particular faith, but you know, whomever you may pray to want you to do some work too. And there, if we can study all the ancient texts, any of them, and they all point to a certain degree of self mastery. And then the other part of it is stillness. So stillness and self mastery provides a balance to life that we all can leverage. And then from there, sky's the limit. Things starts to happen. You start to bend time. Time folds in on itself. Time becomes a non-factor because your success to time rate starts to starts to tip in the other direction, where you feel like everything you touch starts to win. Everything you touch starts to go. You got the Midas touch, and you put all your family and your folks on to the blueprint, and they start applying it, and then they start winning. You know, so when it comes to circumstance, right? There's no such thing as circumstance. You rise above circumstance first by denying its existence. And I'm going to let that breathe for a minute, because I know how crazy that sounds, right? We deny the existence of negative circumstance. Why? Well, I'm glad you asked. We deny the existence of negative circumstance because that's simply something that I don't want to put my energy toward. Remember what I said in the beginning, and I said multiple times. If you don't believe me, go back to my reels. Go back to my reels. I said everything you put your energy towards will manifest itself, and you start to operate in accordance to what you put your energy on. That's how it becomes a reality. So if you are on the receiving end of a negative circumstance, quote unquote, and you're always complaining that, man, I'm unlucky, or man, I can't win for losing, man, it rains when it pours, you're going to materialize that. You're going to internalize it, and you're going to materialize it. When it rains, it pours. Of course it does when you acknowledge it. But instead of saying when it rains, it pours, you say, man, I'm watering my grass, because the grass sure is greener on the other side because it's getting watered right now. Right? And I know it's hard. I know it's an uphill battle. It could seem really difficult to do that. But it's all about awareness. Once you practice your perspectives, what is this teaching me? What is this circumstance in life teaching me? What do I have to learn? So I won't have to go through this so many more times, because the lesson will keep on teaching itself until you learn it. So start to figure out, what do you have to learn? Get some self accountability about yourself. Everything ain't about, oh, it's out of my hands. Oh, it's in God's hands now. It ain't about that, because God don't want to deal with your stuff too. God has, a grand design of things for you to figure out. It's all up to you. God already put this stuff here, the algorithm for you to figure out. So you're accountable for your actions at all times. So what do you have to learn about yourself in this day, in this moment, in these actions, in this scenario? And what you believe turns to the thoughts that turn to the actions, that turns to the habits. Well, first it turns to the practices, that turns to the habits, that turns to what you become. It's all a design. It's a blueprint. It's right there for you. But would you rather be in your in your current circumstance right now, in your current situation, and ignore what I'm saying to you, and keep going through the same things and feeling unlucky? Or would you rather give what I'm saying a shot? Run this back, uh put this, yeah, record this replay and put it in your phone. Take some notes on the things, that the value that you get from this, because we all have those times in our lives, those seasons in our life, that we feel like, you know we can't win for losing, as they say. We seem like we can't get ahead, but it's a chess game. You have to stay 3 or more steps ahead of your problems at all times. And that requires intention, intention, intention. To have that intention means that you have to acknowledge that you are in the driver's seat. You are in the driver's seat. And then when you're in the driver's seat, you have to know where you're going. So from in this situation, in this bad situation, do you know where you're going? In order for you to know where you're going, you got to know where you're at. You know what I'm saying? So in order to know where you're at, you got to drive the car. You got to drive the vehicle. So there, you have to pick apart the situation and learn from your mistakes, the habits that are the causes of these effects, and reverse them. Alchemize the emotions, turn it into study tactics. Practice it. You don't have to be perfect on the first time. You don't have to be perfect on the second time. But practice makes progress. Practice ain't perfect. Practice is progress. And as long as you're 1% better than the day before, you're ahead of the 90% from the day before. Because I guarantee you, everybody ain't 1% better. Because the majority is going to defend their mediocrity from the day prior and from the habits prior. Because everybody feel like they have a reason to stay where they're at. All right, I love y'all, man. Stay up, and I'm going to make sure that I'm gonna be on here much, much more, because the more I give y'all these, the more I feel better about my gifts, my purpose, and getting out to y'all and sharing with you guys. And give me some feedback. If you are watching these, you following me, you walking with me, and you running with me, you building with me, give me some feedback. I would love to build with you all. And I would love to have some of you all who's up to have these types of conversations. We can have these conversations, and we can make something beautiful out of these conversations, and reach the people, because this is what they need. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody's sick of inspirational speakers who is giving you the feel good messages, right? And we're getting all these feel good messages, just for these people to line their pockets with whatever products that they have, and they're not really giving you the how to. The how to is free, because it's in you. It's in you, not on you. You don't have to wear the how to. You just have to bring it out from in you. And we're going to do that together, me included, because I'm not perfect at all. I'm sharing you as I learn these things. I'm giving it to you so we can grow together. I want to build a community where we can all talk amongst each other and give each other pointers and encourage each other, lift each other up when we feel compromised, and so we can hold space for one another, because we never know what each other's situation may be. We might not have family or people who we can call family to fall back on, and lean on and stuff like that. So as a community, we have to build more communities to lean on each other, and eventually build our own platforms, build our own stuff, become sovereign out here, because we all know that these folks in these high places, they're not the most responsible in the when it comes to the upliftment of the people. All right. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that follow button, comment, all of that, because I want to hear from y'all. Peace.